News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by CBD7. A 27-year-old South Weaver man is headed to prison for driving to Wellsville to meet up with a 15-year-old girl earlier this year. Tanner P. Clark was given the maximum sentence after apologizing for his actions. Clark was sentenced during a virtual hearing in First District Court Wednesday, appearing by web conference from jail. He previously accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to 2 counts of enticing a minor by internet or text, a third-degree felony. On January 6th, Clark drove to a church parking lot in Wellsville to meet the teen in person. He drove away when the girl and her friends became suspicious. The victim told deputies Clark added her as a friend on Snapchat in December. He told her that he was 17 years old and lived in Brigham City. About 2 weeks into the relationship, the suspect began asking her to send nude photographs to him, which she refused to do. Judge Brian Cannell agreed with prosecutors and said he was concerned for the public safety if Clark only served a year in jail because during Wednesday's sentencing, defense attorney Joshua Barron had asked the court to sentence Clark to jail instead of prison. But the judge ordered the defendant to serve 2 concurrent terms of up to 5 years in prison. KVNU News Time is 4:06. KVNU weather for tonight, mostly clear skies. Overnight low around 50. Mostly sunny, upper 70s on Friday, mid-70s on Saturday. It's 72 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by the Duct Hunter. If your clothes dryer isn't drying, it might be the dryer vent. Don't buy new. Call the Duct Hunter. They'll come clean it out for you. 770-4813.
Trouble with pain, sleep, or anxiety? Want better health? Try CBD7, the CBD experts. You simply can't get this water-soluble CBD at grocery, convenience, or health food stores. Water-soluble CBD7 absorbs 15 times better and tastes great. CBD7 has the only clinically proven formula with real measurable results. Many feel better in minutes. CBD7 is not a drug and has no side effects. Other CBDs just can't do all that. Visit CBD7 today. Learn about CBD and try our best for free.
KVNU News Time is 4:07. A teacher at a Salt Lake private school was the victim of a burglary, but she is more troubled by a note that was left behind. In March, Shannon Foy Sundo moved to Mill Creek from Virginia so she could return to in-person teaching, something that was not an option at her last school due to COVID-19 restrictions. Fox 13 reports Tuesday morning her welcome to Utah was literally shattered. Someone broke 2 windows on her car and stole several valuables, but under all that glass was a piece of paper more unsettling than the burglary. On that paper was a one-word racial slur. Sadly, she has experienced this type of racism in every city in which she has lived. Shannon's school community at Garfield School rallied behind her and started a GoFundMe page to help her pay for the repairs and to replace the stolen items. And the mother of 2 children who were found dead last year in eastern Idaho and her new husband have been charged now with murder in the grim case involving their religious beliefs and 2 other suspicious deaths. Lori Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell were each indicted by a grand jury Monday on charges of conspiracy, murder, and grand theft in connection with the deaths of Lori Daybell's 2 youngest children, Joshua J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan. Chad Daybell is also charged with 1 count of murder in connection with the death of his late wife, Tammy Daybell, just weeks before his marriage to the co-defendant. KVNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Covering the news that affects your life. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, and online at 610kvnu.com.
This is Dr. Red, chiropractic physician with Red River Health and Wellness. Have you been suffering and you can't find any answers?
I actually suffer from depression and anxiety. I also have had severe IBS problems. I actually had gone into a different doctor of mine because I thought maybe I was starting to go through menopause. and had problems sleeping, and I wasn't resting well, and just everything felt wrong.
Red River Health and Wellness can help.
I am now back at work. It's easy. I get through things effortlessly at work, and it's been a life-changing for me. I'm sleeping better at night. I have full energy all day. I don't have those slumps where I need a nap. It's been amazing. It's been a good journey for me.
Our goal is to teach you and educate you so you know how to manage your condition a lot more effectively, and you know what to do and what not to do for the rest of your life.
Call Red River at 855-55-RIVER to schedule an in-depth consultation absolutely free. All appointments can be done remotely by FaceTime, Skype, or phone.
Attention homeowners! You may have noticed the ground shift after your foundation has been poured, causing your house to sink or settle. Protect your investment from issues before they happen. Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering will stabilize, lift, and eliminate further settling by using Magnum Piering products to save you big money down the road. Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering are the foundation lifting experts. Visit poly-lift.com to schedule your free assessment or call or text 435-999-9309. Polylift is locally owned and operated.
Adams Wealth Advisors have helped thousands of people create financial peace of mind. Understanding your family, job, hobbies, and goals is how Adams Wealth Advisors earn the long-term trust of the individuals they proudly serve.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind, whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit AdamsWealthAdvisors.com. That's AdamsWealthAdvisors.com to schedule a time with an advisor today.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVN News for the People. It is Thursday, May 27th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio as well. Thank you for joining us. 753-5868 if you'd like to join us here on the show. This is an opportunity for anyone out there to weigh in, if you choose to, on this upcoming debate over water in Utah. This is planned for next week. Legislative leaders and this new commission that has been planned or paid for by the legislature via legislation that was signed by the governor just today, actually, although no one expected any opposition from the governor on this. He was part of the planning on this legislation that would create a new spokes group, is the only phrase I can that really fits. But a spokes group in a specific setting. This commission that will be created and have appointees announced over the coming days is going to be Utah's voice in the right now immediately the Tri-Corner area of water debates. This is mainly focused on Lake Powell and the Lake Powell pipeline, and that's a contentious issue. Basically, every state in the West is fighting Utah on this, Southwest, because the Colorado River feeds 4 different states, and the plan for the Lake Powell pipeline benefits only Utah, which is fine. Every state has a certain amount of water they are entitled to, but the contention of the other states is that Utah has not planned this well, that it's a boondoggle, and it has been, to be honest with you, so far. This was actually put in motion about 7 years ago, and it's run into snag after snag. First off, the first snag was they tried to cut some corners, basically. The planners and developers behind the design tried to cut some corners, ran into trouble with the Obama administration, and then thinking that trouble would clear up when Trump was elected, they were surprised to find out that even Trump's EPA appointees would not sign off on the deal, saying, this is horribly planned. What were you guys thinking? So it's gone back to the drawing board again and again and again. And then along comes this year's drought. You may have seen, I caught it just last evening on the news, television news, but the pictures have been floating around on social media and even some official water manager channels on Facebook. Some of the boat docks, I'll give you an example. If you frequent Lake Powell, I haven't been there in years because of the crowds, to be honest with you, but it's if you take a look at the water levels, a lot of the boat docks aren't even submerged. They're unusable. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get a boat in the water. They've got some that they can move and adjust with water levels. But some of those cement, permanently in place boat docks, some of the most widely used boat docks of Lake Powell tourists are just 10, 15 feet above the water line at this point.
You know it's bad when that happens.
And it really kind of drives home a question around all of this. Again, so the Lake Powell pipeline plan could have been planned better by the state of Utah because they could have avoided years of having to go back to the drawing board at taxpayer expense each time. This was a bit rushed, and I'm sure that was, the cynical side of me says that was probably on purpose. There were folks that were hoping a pipeline that would take water from the east side of the state to the west side of the state would be, under construction, if not completed, before all the controversy started. That did not happen. And one of the reasons that didn't happen, again, is other states, New Mexico, Arizona, and California, stepped in and said, and Colorado as well weighing in on this, stepped in and said, hey, this is a horrible idea. We've spoken many times about the book, which I really recommend you read if you're interested in water here in the West. Two books I would recommend. One called Cadillac Desert, which it was published in the 80s and updated in the early 90s, but it's still relevant today. The author has since passed away, so there will be no more updates to the book, but it's still relevant today. It's a book that basically talks about how unsustainable a lot of water usage is in the West as population grows. And again, remember, this was written, before population was what it is today and what it will be 10 years from now here in the West. But the author basically saying, a lot of these communities popped up around certain industries, mining, things like that, and then we found a way to get water to them. It's the least efficient way for water to be used, and also there's just not enough of it. There wasn't enough of it when we began. The second book is called Science Be Damned. He's still going to be a guest on our show after having to cancel on us twice. And I'm not bitter about that. He's a professor. Both times he had to cancel due to concerns from students in his class and his time needing to go elsewhere as the school year wrapped up. But he's going to be joining us next week, finally. But a professor from New Mexico University who has written this book, Science Be Damned, in which he makes not it's an argument that you can't argue with because he's actually showing you 100-plus years of water data to make the case that the very beginnings of the Colorado River Compact that spells out how much water each state has to use from this river while leaving the river in at least okay environmental state. His argument, this professor, scientist, his argument is that there was never that much water in the river to use, that this compact was drawn up after one of the wettest years, two wettest years back-to-back on record. They only went back 2 years, and it has never been that wet since. It was a fluke, basically. They didn't do this on purpose, but nobody's gone back to the drawing board and re-crunched the numbers on how much water there actually is coming through Colorado, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and California when it comes to the Colorado River and all of its, all of the ways it spreads water out. The foundation of that compact, he writes, is off. So that complicates things even further because now you have these states, Utah included, arguing over an amount of water that they all get to use because of this compact. And it's not based on how much water there actually is. And so you combine those two perspectives, and this debate is about to really heat up. So now what Utah lawmakers have done is create a commission with some legal authority in that they can hire legal counsel and have legal representation with the assumption that this is all going to end up in court again and again and again. And it will. New Mexico and Arizona have already said they plan to sue the state of Utah if any move forward on the Lake Powell pipeline happens. Their contention, again, is that it's not been well planned, and they basically don't buy the argument that Utah developers and planners have made that this pipeline won't negatively impact water supply downstream or won't negatively impact the river itself, which is already considered a bit endangered. Then along comes this drought. No one can see this stuff coming. We're a desert state, so it shouldn't be a surprise either. Droughts happen. They tend not to be just a year. They can be, but they tend to be multi-year things when they set in here in the West. And that's, further turning the screws on everyone involved here. And again, those images that I saw reported last night on television news, and you can find them circulating around online in many circles, even here in northern Utah, show, some pretty serious water level conditions when it comes to Lake Powell, especially considering that you have all these communities that have popped up down there basically being fed by summer tourism. Last year was already pretty tough for them. Now, outdoor tourism fared much better than tourism that involves resorts, hotels, and things like that. But still, it was a bit of a depressed year, even for areas like Lake Powell and the Moab area. Things were down a bit. And now this year with the drought, many people that I know who traditionally head down to Lake Powell, oftentimes for a week at a time, are saying they're skipping it this year because water levels are so low. It's just no fun. So that, of course, is going to impact tourism. The water debate is actually, the short version of this Lake Powell pipeline plan, it's just trying to get more water to St. George. As the St. George community continues to grow, they need more water. There is really no other good source other than somehow piping it from the east side of the state to the west. But again, that's going to have some impact on the river. The planners of the Utah side of the Lake Powell pipeline are saying, we've looked into this. Everything's fine. It won't negatively impact the river. It's not going to negatively impact anybody's water downstream or in other states. Other states are saying, basically, we don't believe you. You tried to sell us a bill of goods the first go-round. We caught you. You went back to the drawing board and came back with a different plan. Went back to the drawing board, came back with a third plan. We're at this point not buying it, and we'll see you in court. The reason I bring this up is, although this is a southern Utah thing, we here in the northern part of the state also live under a water compact, a tri-state agreement between the Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah when it comes to water from the Bear River. And it's been managed well between those three states when it's been northern Utah, southern Idaho, southeastern Idaho, and the western side of Wyoming. Water management has gone really well, and it's been responsible. Where things have started to get complicated here in the northern part of the state in a similar way to what's going on down south with a multi-state compact governing how much each state has to use, it isn't because of us here in the north. Where things are getting complicated with the Bear River is everyone south of us, the Wasatch Front, even the Salt Lake City area, they're looking at all this water in northern Utah, and they're salivating over it. They're thinking, we need to somehow get that down here. Now, obviously, it wouldn't be hard to build a pipeline that runs, that distance. That's actually short for a water pipeline. But how does that affect our water usage? How might piping water further south from the Bear River area, which is something that has been spoken about and even one time was suspiciously funded by the legislature. A slush fund was created for, quote, water development projects on the Bear River. Those were the only details provided by the person who's now the Senate president who sponsored this bill, creating this slush fund. Of course, it didn't go over well. Transparency critics and others jumped on this immediately, including the state auditor, and the slush fund was shut down. But it signaled the desire to start developing the Bear River in ways that will take water further south here in Utah, as populations are growing along the Wasatch Front and in Salt Lake County as well. So how does that affect water usage here in northern Utah? If we're piping more of it south, and then suddenly we are starting to run short in a drought year here in the north, and other states are now in the same situation, so they're planning projects. They're going to take even more water out of the river before it even gets to us. And now we've overextended our usage here in Utah because we're piping so much of it south instead of keeping it north. You can see how quickly this could become, like water swirling around a bowl until the bowl is empty. That's the situation we're up against. And everyone is trying to plan carefully and also make sure they have a voice and some entity to protect them. That's why there was such a push, a good idea, to create a water conservancy district here in Cache Valley in northern Utah, so that we had an entity that was designated as the voice of northern Utah in these debates, as other water districts keep eyeing up that water from the Bear River area, which again is bound to happen. But again, what happens when the same thing's happening in Wyoming, same thing's happening in southeastern Idaho, and they're now talking about projects that were going to take a lot of the water before it even gets downstream to Utah. And we've overextended ourselves here in Utah by piping so much south. Suddenly, you could have a really bad situation. That's what's happening in southern Utah right now. This is the debate that will be coming to northern Utah in the next, 15, 20 years. 753-5868. What should we do? 753-5868. This is KVN News for the people.
You've talked about it for years.
Someday, I want to take down those trees, build a gazebo, and plant a garden.
For you, that someday is today.
Whole Tree Care is who Cache Valley trusts to prune, shape, and remove trees. Nobody has more experience. Fruit trees, dead trees, overgrown trees. Call Whole Tree Care. 760-6587. Ask about a radio discount. Whole Tree Care. 760-6587. Online at wholetreecare.com.
Every Saturday morning at 9, you get information to prepare you with retirement solutions for the journey ahead. It's Smart Money Ascent with Clayton Alexander of Teton Wealth Group.
How do we solve that number one fear or that number one concern? Make sure you never run out of money.
And Teton Wealth Group's Ethan Miller.
Then, when you leave Teton, when you leave our offices, you're going to have a plan that you're both excited about.
It's where your retirement questions are answered. Smart Money Ascent, Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Something sexy. What if you were drinking? What if you made the first move? No matter what, sexual assault is never your fault. Support is available 24/7 through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Call 1-800-656-HOPE or visit RAINN.org. That's RAINN.org. This is Christina Ricci with RAINN, reminding you it's never your fault.
Brought to you by RAINN and this station.
2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. The majority of victims know their attacker. It could be your friend, your neighbor, or someone you met at a party. If you said no, it's rape, and it's a crime. This is Christina Ricci with RAINN. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline today at 1-800-656-HOPE or visit RAINN.org. That's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAINN and this station.
Welcome back to KVN News for the people. 753-5868 if you want to weigh in on my big generic water question. In the next 10 or 15 years, the fight over water that's happening in southern Utah between Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, California, and Colorado, basically all the states ganging up on Utah for their plan to build the Lake Powell pipeline, pipe water from Lake Powell over to St. George. Other states arguing this is being founded on faulty science, on bad data, and that it doesn't consider or address the concerns of other states who also depend on the Colorado River. So that, for the time being, is stalled out, and this drought isn't going to help that plan move forward, believe me. You know, those images, again, of boat docks not even near the surface of the water in Lake Powell, that's going to bring this Lake Powell pipeline plan Utah has to a screeching halt. But in the end, water is needed in St. George. Where else are you going to get it? Should you take a more hardline approach and say, all right, that's all the water you have? Sorry. If people don't like that, then they won't live there. That same thing I'm arguing could happen here in northern Utah as water needs grow in Wyoming and Idaho, and here in Utah at the same time. They're upstream from us. We've got the Wasatch Front and Salt Lake looking at what they see as our excess water and wanting it. And so, the worst case scenario I'm describing here, we overextend ourselves by piping much of our water to the Wasatch Front and Salt Lake, which wouldn't be hard to do, and even, relative to other water projects, not expensive to do. And then suddenly Wyoming is saying, we're going to take a bit more ourselves. And Idaho says, well, we're going to take a little bit more ourselves. Now, the compact stops that from being abused. But the compact is based on, very old water data, water volume data, how much water there is to divvy up while leaving a healthy river in place at the same time, which is you have to do. And so if that changes, as there is growing evidence in southern Utah is the case that, again, there's a handful of scientists arguing, like the author of Science Be Damned, that they were always overinflating the amount of water available. But even if that's not the case, even if that argument isn't true, which, the book's very convincing if you want to read it, mainly because he's just showing you the numbers over the last 100-plus years. But even if, let's say, for the sake of argument, that isn't true, that the foundation of that multi-state compact in southern Utah is based on reality, but then that reality has changed as the drier portions of the country have moved north, which we know is happening. Maybe there's just less water in the Colorado River at large at this point. Same thing could be happening in northern Utah 15, 20 years from now. So my question for listeners is, what do we do? I attempted to answer that myself, and I'll be honest with you, the options are not great. Now, there is some natural balance to this type of thing. If there is, you might see this happen in St. George. St. George is they're pushing this Lake Powell pipeline idea because they're anticipating, much like here in Cache Valley, a doubling of their population in the next 20 to 40 years. Now, of course, if there isn't enough water to live comfortably or live in ways that people enjoy, say, for example, the city of St. George is forced at a certain point to say, we just don't have the water for things like lawns. So those are not legal here in the city. That could cause people to choose to live elsewhere, and maybe that population growth won't show up. So there are some balancing things that might happen along those lines. But if the population expected or projected does show up, the water has to come from somewhere. St. George doesn't currently have enough water. It's a difficult situation. But again, the reason I'm bringing this up is what you follow the water arguments and debates and policy in southern Utah. You're seeing what I'm trying to be the opposite. I'm trying to I think some of the alarmists that I'm hearing are saying 5 years. 5 years we're having these debates here in northern Utah. I think it's more like 15, 20. It's a ways off. But 15, 20 years from now, there will be so many more people here. And the same thing will have happened in Wyoming. The same thing will happen in southeastern Idaho. And so the demand for water will have doubled. The water won't have doubled. In fact, the amount of water may have actually decreased in that time. We here in Cache Valley, Box Elder County, and the north will be under even increased pressure from the Wasatch County or Wasatch Front and Salt Lake County areas to develop something that's kind of been put off for the time being, but there will be increasing pressure to further develop and use the water from the Bear River for those more southern urban areas as they continue to grow as well. That's all coming in the next 15, 20 years. You're going to see all of that hit. And so we could be having the exact same debate here in northern Utah that's happening in southern Utah. What do you think? What should we do? What are the options? Again, I looked to see, what could be done otherwise here in northern Utah when it comes to the Bear River, here down there in southern Utah when it comes to Lake Powell and the Colorado River. What are the other options? And to be honest with you, there aren't any. There are a few other options here in northern Utah, and some of them not bad. One argument is you literally just get more creative with reservoirs, and you do that in a way that allows you to share water over a multi-year period with certain types of reservoirs rather than, pull it out each and every year, which is the argument is it's healthier for the river. That way the river keeps the ground wet enough that the river is staying more full. It's complex. That's not an option in southern Utah. It's too hot and dry. Natural reservoirs don't work as well. There's a lot of seepage when the dirt is that sandy and dry. So they have fewer options than us. I don't know if you've been down in the St. George area. They're not surrounded by rivers, occasionally you get a big enough rainstorm that you'll actually see water moving, alongside the road or something like that.
There's no place to go.
Yeah. You'll also see, there are flash floods in which they get some big rivers that last a day or two, maybe even a week. But in general, they've got one, the Colorado River. And some say people just shouldn't live there. They never should have. Yeah, but they do.
And more all the time.
It's complex. 753-5868. Coming up on the show, Senator Mike Lee got his first of what I predict are going to be at least 2, 3, maybe 4 challenges from inside the party. A Republican has filed today to run against Senator Mike Lee. Also, Intermountain Health Care. You might not have heard the phrase genomics before, but it is something that's actually transforming healthcare, and it has a lot to do with getting more creative in treating certain previously very difficult, even impossible to treat diseases. It all comes down to some science that isn't very old, played a role in the development of vaccines. It's played a role in understanding more certain genetic disorders and how they might be treated one day. And it is being employed more and more at hospitals around the country in their research and even treatment, including here in Utah via Intermountain Healthcare. So we'll be talking about that later on as well. Right now, though, a look at the local headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:38. The news is brought to you by the Duck Hunter. Franklin County's Thatcher Elementary School is closing its doors for the last time as a school just short of 100 years old. The school at the north end of Franklin County was built in 1923 and was originally built as a high school. Thatcher is located about 26 miles north of Preston along Idaho 35. To get to the school, you need to turn right just past Trout Creek. About 70 students, grades 1 through 4, finished the final chapter of the school's history and will be bused 12 miles to Grace, where a new school awaits their arrival. The school was built as a community high school and was at one time known as Central High School, Thatcher High School, and then Thatcher Elementary School. Jason Moss, the superintendent of the district, said they chose to close the school after passing a bond to build a new elementary school in Grace. Moss said there are some folks sad to see it go, but it has served its purpose. The new school is high-tech and has all the bells and whistles of a modern elementary school. No one is losing their jobs, as most are going to the new elementary school. Utah Governor Spencer J. Cox has authorized the lowering of the flag of the state of Utah in all state facilities in accordance with President Biden's proclamation honoring the victims of the tragedy in San Jose, California. Flag should be maintained at half-staff from sunset last night until sunset May 30th. Private citizens and businesses are encouraged to participate as well. A former Utah state lawmaker has launched a campaign to challenge Republican Senator Mike Lee for his U.S. Senate seat next year. Becky Edwards is the first candidate to formally announce she will challenge Lee in the 2022 election. She served in the Utah House of Representatives from 2009 to 2018. Edwards built a reputation as a moderate in the conservative Utah legislature, which she says intends to continue in Congress. She also joined a group of other women with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints during the 2020 presidential race, who urged voters to defeat President Trump. KVNU News Time is 4:41.
Did you just build a home or remodel your current home? Well, if so, John at the Duct Hunter says you should have your heating ducts cleaned as soon as possible and change out to a high-quality furnace filter. The dust from construction, sawdust, drywall, and more is sitting in your duct work. Your furnace filter is probably clogged. You'd be surprised what John has found in air ducts, toys, construction debris, and rodents. Let the Duct Hunter clean the ducts today. Call for a free consultation. The Duct Hunter, 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duct Hunter.
KVNU weather for tonight, mostly clear skies, overnight low around 50, sunny upper 70s tomorrow, looking at sunshine mid-70s on Saturday, and looks like a pretty nice weekend for the Memorial Day weekend. Both fair weather both Sunday and Monday with highs close to 80 degrees. It's 73 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Contact their Cache Valley team to protect what's yours at northernsteelbuilding.com. Value from concept to construction. Call 435-677-7300. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Senior Branch Office Administrator Monique Benson, bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report for May 27th on behalf of Financial Daryl Arnell and Edward Jones. Equities closed higher today with the Dow and S&P 500 posting gains and the NASDAQ near flatline. Jobs data released today showed further improvement in the labor market and, coupled with infrastructure talks, is leading to sustained fears of rising inflation. The U.S. Treasury yield moved above 1.6%, and international stocks were mixed while oil and gold traded lower. The Dow closed up 142 points at 34,462. The NASDAQ closed down 2 points at 13,736, and the S&P 500 closed up 5 points at 4,201. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot was up $1.44 to $318.77. Lowe's Companies was up 17 cents to $193.77. Nucor was up 20 cents to $101.05. R.R. Donnelley & Sons was down 2 cents to $6.35. Thermo Fisher was up $12.79 to $472.48. Zions Bancorp was up $1.17 to $57.89, and Northrop Grumman was up $3.74 to $370.46. The price of crude oil was up 62 cents at $66.83, and the spot price of gold was down $2 to $1,901.40. This has been today's Financial Market Report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice, with offices in Providence, Logan, and Smithfield. Daily commentary is also located at our website, edwardjones.com.
Okay, now, listen up. If you like a little variety in your life and you like to work outside, I have the job for you. Logan Extermination is looking for hardworking, motivated technicians to help them keep up with their booming business. This is a great paying job with full or part-time employment available, and your day is never the same. Pay is $13 to $15 per hour with paid training and certification. Call today, 752-8450. That's 435-752-8450. Logan Extermination is excited to add you to their family.
Did you know Memorial Day was originally called Decoration Day? Memorial Day is an American holiday observed the last Monday of May, honoring the men and women who died while serving in the U.S. military. Take a moment or two this Memorial Day to reflect and honor the generations who came before us. This message from Allen Mortuaries.
This is Jason Allen with Allen Mortuaries, serving Cache Valley for over 80 years. Then, now, always.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Coming up in hour two, Governor Cox today spent the weekly coronavirus briefing talking about the big question: how do you wind down a pandemic? That's where the task force is currently focused. Good news, but how do you do it? Highlights from that coming up. Right now, though, health-related, but some amazing research being done here in Utah involving the practice of precision genomics. What is that, and how might it improve health care? How is it being used even to better understand genetic disorders previously untreatable? Well, Intermountain Healthcare is working on that, and with the details, here's Craig.
Well, thank you, Jason. Intermountain Healthcare is involved in a project to predict and prevent hereditary disease, and they're now enrolling individuals online to be involved in this study. We're talking about genomics, which can help to create personalized treatment plans for patients as well as find serious hereditary diseases in families before problems do get worse. It's called the Heredogene Population Study. It's online. Anybody interested can get involved at heredogene.org, and I'll repeat that at the end of our discussion. It's HEREDIGENE.org, heredogene.org, and we'll one more time remind you of that. We're joined by Bryce Moulton. He's Senior Director for Clinical Research at Intermountain Precision Genomics. Genomics study of how our DNA functions and interacts with in our bodies. So the plan is that Heredogene is going to study the genes of about 500,000 voluntary participants, and this is going to all be done by about 2024 to help scientists discover new information that may improve health care for future generations. So, Bryce, how long, first of all, has this study been underway already?
Well, we started the study back in 2019, right in the middle of the year. And we've been enrolling patients ever since. Even through the pandemic, we were affected to some degree. We had to change some processes, and one of the ways in which we thought would help these patients is, of course, being able to enroll online instead of having to come in person. And we're now able to do that, so we feel really good about that.
So this is another one of those things where you're probably going to continue to do the practice even when the pandemic's over.
Absolutely, yeah. We found that it's been really beneficial both to our caregivers here at Intermountain as well as to patients. It really provides the ability to sign up for the study, to learn about the study, really from the comfort of your own home or wherever you might be. You can read about it by going to the website, and you can do that whenever you want. And of course, it gives patients time to think through participating in the study, to talk about it with family members or friends, individuals that maybe have already participated, for example, whereas before, they were told about the study while they were on site at a hospital or a facility, and maybe they were getting a blood draw. And, in a lot of cases, maybe that wasn't enough time for some patients to kind of think through that. So this gives them a lot more options in considering participating in the study.
So it is a testing of blood.
That's correct. Yeah, we're collecting 2 vials of blood. It equates to about 2.5 teaspoons total. And, we can usually get that if patients already have standard of care blood draw. If they're already getting blood taken for a different test, we would just add a couple of tubes on the end of that draw.
I read Intermountain has collected something like 50,000 samples from volunteers already.
That's right.
What have you found? I mean, is it too early to say? Has there been a high rate of genetic variants, or are they rare?
Yeah, really good question. We found actually quite a few really interesting things so far. I would say it's too early to essentially to publish those findings and to make those findings really well known and of course to be able to do something about that. But we have some early indications that our population either matches what has already been found in other countries, which of course is a good thing. We want to corroborate those results. But it also gives us some information about some unique characteristics of our particular population in Utah. For example, we have a higher incidence of melanoma than most other states in the country, and we're starting to find out why that is. What are the gene mutations or variants that may be causing that to happen? And so we're able to determine what our population looks like so far just from those first 50,000 samples that we've begun analyzing. Now, of course, to find definitive results and to really make those applicable, we do need to capture a more representative number. And so that's why we're really looking for, anywhere from 400,000 to 500,000 patients overall in the study.
As you find something unusual, are these individuals notified immediately?
They are, yeah. It does take us several months to process the samples. And one thing that's really important is that we verify the results that we find. This study is done for research purposes primarily. But if we do find something, we do a clinical confirmatory test. So what that means is that patients are contacted and told that we may have found something, but we'd like to confirm that before we report that back to you. And so at that point in time, patients are given the opportunity to provide another sample. This can be done actually through just a saliva sample instead. And that's processed. And if we ultimately confirm the original variants or results that we found, then patients are contacted. That will take what we estimate anywhere from about 4 to 6 months after the first sample was collected.
Yeah. Talking with Bryce Moulton. He is the Senior Director of Clinical Research at Intermountain Precision Genomics. As I listen to you, and I've read some of the information, it seems to me there are potentially life-saving discoveries that could come out of this project.
Absolutely, yeah. We hope to identify, like I said, some of the reasons why our state or our population is unique, why we have higher incidences of certain diseases and what could be the reason for that. But we also hope to identify new, what we call biomarkers. This is, gene mutations that are known disease causing, and we can identify potentially drug targets for those and develop new drugs or new treatments coming from this particular study. So it's a great way to use our genomics, like you mentioned previously, to identify new treatment modalities, but as well as to increase our knowledge and hopefully discover ways in which we can prevent these diseases from occurring altogether.
Can anyone participate?
Yes, they can. Yeah, anyone right now, 18 or older, so you have to be an adult, can participate in the study. We are also enrolling children as well, so if you're younger than 18, but only at Primary Children's Hospital in Salt Lake City.
You talked about people having some hesitation about it. Is it in any way similar to those organizations like Ancestry.com? I have friends that are, on one hand, are really interested in knowing more about their families going back in time, but unwilling to explore it because of the possibility of privacy issues that have been emerging in some of those organizations.
That's right. That's right. Well, in general, Intermountain Healthcare, we're a healthcare institution first and foremost. We're a not-for-profit hospital, and so we're definitely not trying to sell or or make money from this study. Our primary purpose is to identify and discover new disease mechanisms and new discoveries that will hopefully benefit us all in the future. I think the primary difference is really we're trying to make those discoveries from this information. We're not trying to sell it, or we're not trying to make a profit from that. One of the biggest differences as well is we're not so much interested, and even though we can look at familial lineage, and we can find out, where a patient has maybe come from, some of their ancestry and that sort of thing. But we're mostly interested in their health, their outcomes, their risk for developing certain diseases down the road, and that sort of thing. And so, by and large, the technology is very similar, but the purpose and the objective is very different from some of these other institutions.
Are you aware of a study like this in genomics that has been done in this way with this many participants? Has it happened before?
Yeah, absolutely not. This is one of the largest studies really ever conducted, but when you tack on that we're doing population genomics the way we are, it's really a one-of-a-kind study. It's really a lifetime opportunity. And so I encourage everyone to learn about it. Of course, it's a voluntary study, and so it's up to them whether or not they want to choose to participate. But it's a really incredible opportunity, and especially that it's happening here in our great state, it's even more of a good opportunity.
I promised at the end of our talk I would mention again the website. So it's hereditgene.org, and I'm going to spell that HEREDIGENE, hereditgene.org, and that's where people go.
That's correct. Yep. And they can go anytime, night or day, and they can sign up for the study. Once they sign up, they'll receive some instructions of where to go to donate their sample. We now have the ability for patients to go pretty much anywhere where they normally go to get their care and get their blood drawn. So hopefully you don't have to drive too far or go too far away from where you normally go.
Well, Bryce, this is a very interesting story, and as I said, with potentially life-saving outcomes, and we appreciate you taking some time to help us understand it.
You bet. I appreciate you talking about it. This is really important, so thank you.
That's Bryce Moulton, and Jason, Bill, back to you guys.
Thank you, Craig. And stay tuned. More of For the People right after this.
Installing a metal roof has never been easier with the help of the folks at Metal Mart. Conveniently located in Lehigh and Logan, Metal Mart's sales force is ready to help you with metal roofing. Metal roofing adds immediate value to any roofing project. Whether it's a home, cabin, barn, or shed, you'll find great selection and value at Metal Mart. And metal roofing panels aren't just for roofs. These long-lasting panels are great for fences, siding panels, garden boxes, wall decor panels, interior wall panels, and so much more. With a selection to fit anyone's budget, you'll love the value you get when you install metal roofing from Metal Mart. So no matter if you're building a chicken coop or your dream home, Metal Mart has an amazing roofing solution for you. Call today and let Metal Mart help put a roofing package together that's perfect for you. Call today in Logan at 435-363-9001 and see why Metal Mart is everyone's metal store. Visit us online at metalmart.biz. Ask about our great selection of steel purlins as well. Save money. Call Metal Mart today.
This is Jay from Daryl's Appliance. It's time for our annual spring event. This is an event 51 years in the making. Stop by this Saturday and save big on kitchen packages and GE appliance deals for the whole house. We just received in a new load of scratch and dents from Whirlpool and GE, plus a freezer blowout. Enter to win a drawing for a freezer and get balloons for the kids. Listen for the live radio broadcast Saturday. That's the huge spring event at Daryl's Appliance, where service always comes first. Daryl's, west on Airport Road.
This is Sweetwater Window Cleaning. Summer is here, and so are all the activities. Why not have us take care of the window cleaning for you? I'm sure you've got plenty on your to-do list already. And let's face it, when you climb that dangerous ladder to clean your own windows, they seldom come out as good as you'd like. Let us give you the crystal clean professional results you want. Mention this ad, and we'll remove hard water for free.
Sweetwater Window Cleaning, 363-6543, 363-6543.
4
The Preston Golf and Country Club is now taking registration for their summer junior golf program. These programs include an 8-week-long group lesson for beginner and advanced players, plus also a summer youth league that includes 9 holes of golf each week, a treat, prizes, a PGA Junior League team, and small group lessons as well. Cost for the 8-week program is $70 per child. Lessons start June 9th and are 8 consecutive Wednesdays. Register by calling the Pro Shop at 208-852-2408. All groups will be taught by John Van Vliet, certified PGA professional.
Coming up in hour 2 of today's show, highlights from the final weekly coronavirus task force briefing in Utah. That's a good thing, although we'll probably miss them. Also, Senator Mike Lee got his first Republican challenger today. First of probably a few.